Here's the problem, right? So a lot of organizations are coming up with certain strategies. This is no longer going to work. So if you just throw titles and perks, people are not going to stay. We've been speaking to a lot of our customers, and everybody is in some sort of a journey from a talent transformation perspective internally. And the biggest challenge that we've encountered and the learnings that we've had is I have really less data about my employees in the organization. I know that we hired our employees a while back, their resumes are outdated, and there's no meaningful way for us to provide recommendations till we have employees go and fill out their profile. That was one fundamental challenge. And employees don't have motivation to update this either. There is no employee saying that, hey, this Wednesday afternoon I have 30 minutes, let me go back to my internal portal and update my skills. It's not going to happen, right? So how do you design around that? And the other problem is the evolution of skills are so rapid these days. The shelf life, probably I created this slide last year, is of each skill is around 2.5 years. Maybe it's gone even lower now, right? So there's no motivation. So how do you think about it? How do you think about designing products that work around these problems that can really get you started with the internal talent transformation? So what we do is we really connect a lot of dots within the talent ecosystem. So you may have employees, you may have managers who've opened roles for the positions that employees are in, and those roles and those job descriptions have skills that we can parse. You may have hired a candidate and their profile is pretty recent, so you can actually extrapolate some of those. So what we do is we take a layered approach from a Phenom perspective, right? So over the last 10 years, we've looked at massive amounts of data to really build a foundational AI model that can make some assumptions and deliver meaningful experiences out of the bat. So you don't really have to depend on employees going and filling out their profiles to deliver them an experience. So that's our foundational model, right? So we understand what a role is, what are the top skills associated to a role, what are the common progressions from a role perspective, by industry, by geography, and we have a sense of that in our baseline AI model. On top of that, we get the context. How do we get the context? We can import a lot of that data from every of our customers, right? So when we implement our product, let's say for a talent acquisition side, you'll start with getting jobs into our platform. So we can already infer what are the top skills that you're looking for certain roles, right? That inference is already there. We get your employee profiles. Yeah, employee profiles, some of it may be outdated, some of it may be new. We can extrapolate based on the recency of that signal to see what the skill profile looks like. And that becomes the baseline. The third layer is the feedback layer, which is the most important layer. So the approach we've taken is you deliver value and see how your users react and make an inference, right? So employees are not going to go and update their skill profile, but you give them a suggestion, give them a recommendation, they click on it, that establishes a connection. That becomes a confidence. That's feedback coming back into our model that's delivering this. And on top of it, we have an enhanced AI layer. So if you look at our experience, and I'm going to show you what that experience looks like, it's all focused around delivering personalization based on these 4 layers, right? So essentially, the model is usually that this is what we think about, right? So the inner circles, I know these dots are a little bit small. So the inner circle is, okay, employees update their profiles, then managers help set up certain career paths, talent management works, and really figures out a strategy there, and the outer layer is the engagement. But from a Phenom perspective, we've taken the outer-in approach, right? So because of the baseline model that we already have, because of the massive amounts of data that we've had in our ecosystem, we can deliver 80 to 90% accuracy out of the box for certain roles in certain groups, certain job zones that will first give you recommendations and then make employees go and update their profile, right? So then the cycle starts. So that's kind of a unique point of view that we've taken, and I'll hand it over back to Amy.
So what I wanted to share was that since we reset our strategy in early 2022, some of the early results that we're seeing as a result of that reset of our strategy. So what we are really seeing now is that our internal hiring rate kind of came back up a little bit in 2022. It reached almost 36% by the end of 2022 last year, and we saw actually it increase as the year kind of came to a close. And we're off to an incredible start so far in 2023. We're at 38.4%, and I feel like we're in striking distance to make that by our goal of 40% by 2024. So we're really, really getting close, and we're really grateful to Phenom and their partnership and their innovation for helping us achieve this lofty goal. So I think we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody have any questions?
I've got a question. Thinking about internal mobility, it's a cultural change, right? So how did you help shape the culture when you think about managing reporting of talent and not wanting to, like some at our company, they always think about, I'm not going to be able to get a requisition back from that person, so not allow them to internally transfer. So how did you overcome that cultural blockage?
Yeah, so I think the question is really around how do you prevent talent hoarding, for the most part. And what we kind of framed up as in our manager development courses, our frontline leader courses, it's really an emphasis that we kind of make and as part of all of those courses that as a manager, you have a duty and a responsibility to develop that talent for the future, and it's really talent that belongs to the organization, not just one individual. And so we thread that early on in manager onboarding, as well as all of our manager training, to make sure that that's clear, that as an organization, that's our expectation of a manager. We also make sure that our policies are manager friendly as well. So we make sure that there's enough transition time as an internal might move to another role, that there's an ample amount of time for that manager to kind of plan accordingly to be able to support that transition.
So as you're making this shift, what's the role of your recruiters and talent acquisition? Are they involved in a lot of internal mobility and movement?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is, what's the role of talent acquisition and the recruiters as part of the internal hiring process? And we actually look to our recruiters to be a little bit of coaches to help colleagues understand the available opportunities that are out there and help them kind of find their next career as well. We also leverage our CRM to source for talent internally just as much as we source for talent externally as well.
Similar to that question, now that this is up and running, is it managed under talent acquisition? Is it shared across learning and development and other teams? Like, what does that look like?
It's a shared, that's a great question. It is a shared partnership across the talent platform. So at Thermo Fisher, our talent platform is comprised of talent acquisition, talent management, and learning and development. And so it's a joint effort that we manage together to make sure it's the right experience for our colleagues kind of around the entire talent cycle.
So in my organization, our organization, we have customers who are ending contracts. The meaning our employees will be ending their contracts soon as well. So is there a mechanism in place where the employee can say, at risk for employment and shoot them to the top of the internal ladder?
There isn't I will say that we don't have a technical mechanism deployed for that, but that is work that we do sort of on the side, that we kind of work collectively as a talent platform to understand those employees that are at risk, and then we do work with our recruiters to identify opportunities for redeployment for any of our impacted colleagues.
And the one other thing that we do on the platform as well is we can quickly switch the screen. On the profile, we have mechanisms to let employees share that status and anonymously as well, right? So we have, I think the slides are not changing. So we have a mechanism where employees can raise their hand and say, hey, look, I'm coming at the end of my contract. I want to say I'm open for rehire. So that signal goes back to the TA or the recruiters see employee recommendations for certain jobs that they can go after first.
Share a little bit more about the adoption process, especially around internal communications and marketing.
Sure.
And if you built out a unique campaign for this purpose.
Yes. So the first thing that we did was we built out additional content on our internal career site itself, really kind of focused on highlighting all of the different businesses, as well as some of the kind of jobs to kind of expect in each one of those businesses, as an opportunity for people who are kind of coming in the organization and really not familiar with any of the other business groups outside of the area that they support, an opportunity to learn about those a little bit more. We also have built internal marketing campaigns to kind of re-engage employees that have built their profile, and if they have engaged with a piece of content as it relates to a particular learning journey, to kind of share with them updates related to that business or other information to kind of pull them back into looking at some of the job opportunities that will become available for that particular business unit.
I think you mentioned when you went live with this in 2020, integrating it with Workday. So do you mind telling me a little bit more about any considerations in play and the role or what would stay within Workday versus what was moving?
Yeah, so just a point of clarification on that. We have integrated our employee profiles between Workday and Phenom people. We are not yet live on Workday Recruit. We are 31 days away from that. I can tell you though, from an integration perspective, we have multiple feeds that will be set up between Phenom and Workday to support all of our employee content, our employee feed, our employee profile activity, performance data, as well as all of our job activity as well. No problem. We've got time for maybe one more.
Yep.
Hi there. We launched our internal career portal last spring, and we are about to launch the career pathing tool in Q3. So, similar to y'all, we had really great success with signups, and we're thinking, how do we keep that motivation going? How do we get employees to continue to complete their signups, continue to go in and adjust their skills ahead of some of this launch? Did you leverage campaigns to put awareness out there, or what kind of tools did you put in play so that you all were best prepared and employees were starting to think about before some of those launches?
Yeah, so in terms of some of the activity, we did have a lot of kind of promotional campaigns to kind of bring candidates or employees back into the careers website and kind of engaging with much of that content. But I think that's really where those learning recommendations sort of come into play as it relates to career pathing, where that's really the opportunity as you identify, a course or an opportunity, something for somebody to do to kind of continue to develop themselves. That's really going to be the best mechanism to kind of pull them back into the system. I think we're out of time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Happy to take it offline. Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for your time today and for joining our session.